Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Caroline, where we learn and grow together. And today I'm joined by a very, very special young lady who I not only have the pleasure of calling friend, but she is on an absolutely phenomenal journey at the moment in her personal life and also in her business. So if you can please help me welcome Angela.
Parents weren't married and stuff, and I just remember there used to be quite a lot of abuse in the home, some forms of domestic violence, whether emotionally or physically. And growing up, I was really quiet, and I wasn't very vocal. So I used to be really shy, and I would only speak when it's necessary or when I'm told to speak. And stuff like that. But I really struggled because obviously whatever happens at home stays in your home, so you're not allowed to go out and tell everybody about your family business. So when I went into secondary school, and I guess secondary school is a time where you're still trying to figure out who you are. And a lot of the time people used to say I was moody, I'm always moody, and I used to be I'm not moody. I'm just obviously not happy, but I couldn't ever go into detail about stuff. So I became very passive aggressive in the way that I behaved. And I just remember I was never really happy. My mental health kind of improved, but then stuff at university happened, and then that kind of I would dip again. And so I just kind of went through uni, kind of not really knowing if I was depressed, not really accepting if I was or wasn't, not really having an understanding of what mental health is, because no one really spoke about stuff. But when I was sad, I'll go to my friends, and then I got so I started going to church properly in university, and that's when I got saved. So that was the time when things kind of transformed for me, and I began to understand my journey a bit more. But then even then, so in my second year, my mum was sectioned under the Mental Health Act, and that was the first time that she was detained and put into the local psychiatric hospital. And I think that day was probably one of the worst days of my life, because it was the day after Mother's Day, and I just remember I didn't speak to my mum on Mother's Day for some weird reason. I didn't call, and then I never actually told anyone this, but I had a dream that my mum was sick, and that she had been taken away. And I think the day after, because of that dream, I called my dad, and he was like, "Oh yeah, police have come and taken her." And I was just okay, what does this mean? And so that unraveled a lot of things in my home. And so we had social services, we had the police come in, because my siblings at the time were under the age of 16, so they really just wanted to take them away. So that happened, and then
let's maybe there's so much to unpack, and it's such a sort of heavy story for people that may not be able to, or maybe haven't had a similar experience. But I just want to rate you, Angie, just for the fact that you've just been through so much, and sometimes just looking at you you couldn't tell. But I'm also aware that there may be a lot of people as well that are able to relate to your story, and they may not be able to voice exactly, maybe they're in the thick of it at the moment, and they can't actually voice out what they're experiencing, but you're almost able to kind of give that voice to the voiceless, I feel, just by sharing your story. And I just kind of want to backtrack in terms of when you were the first sort of instances that you encountered with your mum where she was acting a little bit off. How did it come about, and how were you able to cope in that situation? If you throw your mind back.
Coping, I don't really think that, I guess I coped subconsciously, but not consciously, in a sense where I'm saying I'm actually going to get away from this, or I'm going to think about the different things I can do in the time. It just naturally happened. So when it first kind of happened, or me seeing signs that were strange, I just used to run away. As long as I was out of the house, I was happy. So I never really I didn't face it too much. I remember when I was at home, I was the one that it was either me or my dad that she kind of attacked or with words or we'll get into arguments. So I'd find anything that I could do to stay away from home. So I had like a few friends that I would stay over at their house. They didn't know what was going on, but I'll be like, oh, can I stay over? Or like, say we went out the night before, I'll stay. And there were even times I'll stay for like a week and then I'll go back home.
Yeah.
So if that was a way of coping, that's how I pretty much coped.
Yeah.
But then I used to go to the library. I used to love reading, so I used to just go there and just stay and read. And yeah, like I hid the way, or I guess I hid my experiences also by the way I dressed as well. So during college I used to wear really bright clothes, so people wouldn't realise that I was sad. And it's only like after that I realised I actually used to do that, because I'd be like, oh, you look nice, and then that would kind of allow me to forget what was happening at home. So I guess it wasn't specifically me sitting down saying, oh, I'm going to do this, this and that. It just happened naturally, and I just almost went with the flow. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you kind of started to talk about, when you started going to university. So yeah, just pick up from there, what your experiences was like at university.
So I focused my dissertation around the Mental Health Act. The Mental Health Act, Section 136, which is basically how the police use the Mental Health Act to detain people. So it was kind of looking at the statistics from for black people compared to white people. Yeah. So it allowed me to dig deep into what the Mental Health Act is, and also help me to ask questions about stuff. Yeah. And then the most, I guess, life-changing experience in my family in regards to mental health was, so because my parents aren't married, I became the nearest relative, which means I have the responsibilities of deciding what happens to my mom. And at the time she relapsed, so it meant that I had to decide whether or not she goes back into hospital or not. I just remember it was basically like a week or two before my dissertation was due, and like the week after I had my final exams. So I'm going along to these meetings. My mum, I'm going along to these meetings, speaking to like an approved mental health specialist. So they basically explain everything that you have to do, and they make it sound so simple without actually explaining to you the depth of what you're about to do. It's almost like it was a make or break decision, because for me it was like, it's either she stays and she gets worse, or she goes in and the likelihood of her getting well or not getting well is still 50-50. Like it's not 100%
sure.
So after like seeking counsel from my church and friends, I just decided it was the best thing to do. So like I had a conversation, had a meeting, and then a phone call which basically finalized my decision. And I was like, yeah, she should go back into hospital. And I think at that point then I was like, oh my gosh, like I felt so guilty. It's like I can't ever tell my mum that
you were responsible for her.
I still haven't told her. I don't think I can, because just the whole guilt of it. And that's when it hit me. I was just like trying to do my dissertation, and I remember like sitting at a computer in the LRC or library. And I just like ran out and I burst into tears. And then so I called my partner. I was like, this is what's going on. I went to my friend's house and really explained to them what was going on. And it was really disheartening. Like I was just so sad. I was like, why does this have to happen to me? It could have been anyone else. Not that anyone else deserved that, but I wouldn't even wish what was going on with me to my worst enemy, because it was like your mum. Like your mum is the one that nurtures you, that looks after you, that supports you. And I never really had that support. Well, up until a certain stage before she started to get ill, I didn't have that anymore. So it's kind of like, how can I then become almost like a mom to her, and then have to decide?
Like the roles reversed.
I've had like a few breakdowns and stuff since then. And just in my mind, just not always having the high self-esteem that I need, because I was insecure in myself anyway growing up. So it was hard in a sense where like I was like, I have some people that encourage me, but who's actually going to hold me up?
Your mum's situation then kind of had an impact on you as well. So, what you're facing in your home and the decision that you had to make at quite a young age obviously, and other factors kind of had an impact on you. And I think it can be quite rare for people to be in a household where they have somebody that may be having sort of like mental health issues. I don't know if that's the right way to refer to it, but you know, and them still remain sane. Like at some point it will rub off on them in some sort of way, unless they have the right sort of coping mechanism or support system like you spoke about. But talk to me a little bit about what you were experiencing in your home like then began to affect you as well.
I'm just trying to think of how it obviously has in many ways. I think the first kind of aspect that it changed was obviously my home situation, because so like my dad's been pretty much in and out of our lives, so I didn't really have a father figure there. So I, in a sense, became mum and dad to my siblings. So I have a younger sister. I became mum and dad for them. So anytime they wanted something, they would come to me to ask for it. And then in terms of like my friendships, it really tested my friendships. And I think when I went into university, I thought, these are my friends from outside university. I can go to them whenever. And then that didn't happen. And for me, I'm someone that I always give. Like, I like to give. If I have, I will give you. That's the type of person I've always been. And I always think in terms of my friendships, I've been really loyal. And I felt like I was really loyal to these people. But when the tables turned, I didn't hear from them. I guess part of it was the fact that I didn't tell them what was going on. But also just not having, like, I don't want to say decency, but I guess that's the word that I can use. To see if I'm okay in university anyway. Like, there wasn't, I didn't get that. So it really made me question some of my friendships outside of university. But then my friendships in university, the friends that I had, we became close as a result of that. I've had like a few breakdowns and stuff since then. And just in my mind, just not always having the high self-esteem that I need, because I was insecure with myself anyway growing up. So it was hard in a sense where like I was like, I have some people that encourage me, but who's actually going to hold me up? Because my mum is like this, does that mean I'm going to be like that as well? I think has grown tremendously as a result. And I have so much hope because I know that there's so much more for me. And I didn't used to think like that at all, but I guess being a Christian and learning about the faith and stuff just shows me that there is hope, and like God's plans for me are so much more than what I've ever experienced. So it's not even just about the pain, but it's about beyond the pain and actually living out purpose, which I guess is what I'm living out now.
And that leads me to my next question, actually, from pain to purpose, obviously. So you were able to like take your lived experience of mental health and turn it into this phenomenon which is mental health the art. So talk to us a little bit about how you kind of taken your personal experience and something that caused you a great amount of pain, and now you're using it for purpose, and you're using it to sort of also sort of influence culture, but also kind of inspire people and to almost raise awareness around this sort of mental health topic. So talk to us about mental health the art.
Okay. So when I left university, I had a job as a sales assistant in Cares Accessories, and I quit my job. I was like, I really want to learn more about what mental health is.
Can you just like break down to us, you know, what mental health is and sort of what mental distress is, like the difference between the two?
So essentially mental health is how you cope with situations in life. So it's about your thoughts, feelings and emotions and how they work in terms of how you react to situations, how you communicate with others. So that's mental health in itself. And everybody has mental health, just like everyone has physical health. When it comes to like mental illness or mental distress, it's a spectrum. So you have people who are autistic, who have dementia, and they have mental health issues. And then you have those who have depression and anxiety. And it's about actually understanding what those things are.
Right.
So people are born autistic because of the genes or hormones in their mind. Elderly people tend to have dementia, which is another form that works in the mind, and how the chemicals in your mind work. Then you have things like depression, which is specifically relates to having low moods and how long you are in those low moods for,
right?
Which is another thing.
Yeah.
Everybody says they're depressed.
Right.
You can have a phase, if you're having a phase of depression, it means that you're in a low mood for more than a week or so.
Right.
It's not I'm feeling low for a few days and I'm able to get back up and then get on with life. It's different.
Right. So it's the period, the duration of time in which you're in that low space. Yeah. Then you can label it as depression.
Yeah. Right. In terms of the journey with mental health, the arts, I realised that it is my own journey.
Yes.
And I am the brand in a sense. So when I feel low, when I'm not doing stuff, it comes to a complete halt. I'm not doing anything. Yeah. But so since I started, like I said, I was doing pitching, lots of pitching. I was with School of Social Entrepreneurs for a year. Did some stuff with Hatch Enterprise as well. And then coming into this year, it's almost changed a little bit because I love doing events and it's what I know that I'm good at, like organising and setting up events. But now I'm building a programme, one specifically for young carers and the other for young people who are showing early signs of mental distress or distress in a sense. And it's really just to support them in any way we can. So we take a holistic approach to mental health. Yeah. So it's not just come in, do a creative arts workshop and leave, but it's you come in, you start a project from the first day that you come, and then you have counselling, you have life coaching, and you have nutrition sessions. So it's building you up for when you need to be able to support yourself on your own. Yeah. So it's creating creative coping mechanisms, but you're having all those other elements involved. So we're supporting you in any way we can. Yeah. And then when they go off, they can then become ambassadors of the program, come in because they have lived experience, are using the creative arts, and then help other young people.